You should have seen it when we were sworn in. He's over there, boy, as soon as we can swear, he's
You don't help people. You ruin the life.
John. Yeah. Just suck it up. Oh, we'll wait for Jeff. I don't know. They just went that way. We lost Jeff. He's roaming around.
And my wife, like, so he went and Bill, right? It's not as simple anymore back in the day. Goes around, and I get under his car, and my wife is able to trump it. She doesn't have any diamonds, and she threw off.
Okay, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's Wednesday, January 2nd, 2019. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before we start the meeting, we want to present a county resolution to Judge Tom Sodergren for his years of service. So come up here. Whereas in 1994, Tom Sodergren was elected to serve as a Cole County Associate Circuit Judge, and whereas prior to being elected to this position, Sodergren served 2 terms as Jefferson City Municipal Judge, and before that was a 2-term city prosecutor, and whereas Sodergren has heard over 153,000 cases, ranging from traffic offenses to felonies, certified several presidential and governor's elections, and has married thousands of individuals, and whereas in 2004, Sodergren received the distinct honor of receiving the State of Missouri Mothers Against Drug Driving Judge of the Year Award, and whereas Sodergren has raised 2 wonderful children, Suzanne and Sam, good name. We're going to skip all the rest of that. Therefore, be it resolved that we do hereby thank and commend Judge Tom Sodergren for his years of faithful service and loyalty to the county. Tom, thank you for everything.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
153,000 cases.
Yeah.
That's
I have one little problem with it. You say I've married thousands of individuals. I wish you would have said performed thousands of marriages.
Oh. Jeff, did you?
You were thinking of me or what?
Yeah. I used to marry people on Friday afternoons, and I was at home at lunch one time, and my wife said to my son, he was real little, and she said, Daddy's got to go now because he marries people on Friday afternoons. And she said, when you get old enough, do you want Daddy to marry you? And he said, no, he's a boy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Maybe around 1.
And he didn't want to stay. I told him he could stay for the rest of our meeting. Minutes and reports received and filed.
None.
Commissioner Committee liaison reports, upcoming meetings and events.
So we got a Cole County Extension meeting tomorrow night, and then we have a meeting with the Health in Jeff City tomorrow at 2:30, right?
Yep.
East Side Business Association at the Health Department Friday morning at 7:30, and everybody's welcome to come by there if you want to. That's about it.
I don't have on here. I have a salute meeting today, 11:30. Not sure if that's happening or not. I'm supposed to meet Rick Mihalovich at 2 to talk about some port issues. And Monday I'm meeting with Strategic to go over legislative reports and different things.
Tuesday.
at 7:30,
Yep.
chamber.
Okay, I got all that. Friday, Cap Region, we've got a retirement, Dr. Flood at my orthopedic doctor. Sunday's the Bridal Spectacular at the Link, if you want to come to that.
I'm probably gonna be hunting.
Oh, okay, well,
Still boasting.
Kathy could come.
She don't know about it.
I'll send her an email. Okay, that's all I've
Thanks.
got. Commission comments? No. Bids and contracts? No. Unfinished business? New business? Debbie's not here. Accounts payable review?
There are none.
Ooh, like that. Budget discussion?
Okay, I put that back on there because after we went through and had some more time to look at the salaries we had talked about, and I thought all the chief deputies should be in the same category. I still think so, and so I wanted it on there to reconsider that, and then also to, if we're gonna put this schedule in there, to have it December 31st as a cutoff date. If we're gonna stick with that date, that should be the cutoff date, not some arbitrary date in January or February or March. So I wanted to bring those two back up, and didn't know if y'all want to talk about it or had any more to say about it. So basically it would change one. It would change the auditor's chief deputy, would put her in the same category as the other chief deputies. But she'd still get the step raises for the years that we had on there. And then I think there was 6 or 8 that got affected by the $500 step, where if we made it January 31st. So I think that was about all I had on that.
So we had 4 or 5 people who started on January 1st. So as of December the 31st, they would have a full year of service in.
I know. Well,
So I didn't change the December 31st thing. There was one person that was in the middle of January. But if you started January the 1st, you have a full year of service in. Our calculation did not consider that.
then why not make it January 15th or January 31st or July 1st? I mean, if we're gonna go December 31st, go to the end of the year, that's when it is. So,
So their whole year of service that they've worked doesn't count for anything.
what if somebody had 359 days instead of 364? So what's the date that you want to change it? I mean, we're just gonna pick an arbitrary date? I say might as well do July 1st then. So if they got hired in the first 6 months, they've been here for over 6 months. So,
The salary change that you're proposing doesn't take effect until January the 13th is the effective date of the salary change.
That's
So we
the-
decided if you had an anniversary date in January, which means that you have completed that full year of service in January when the change takes effect, you get credit for that year.
I'm going by the calendar year. So the budget year's till the 31st is what I was going with. So I wasn't with the January 13th date.
So there's like 4 people that affects?
There's 3 or 4 in general fund and there's 1 in the assessor. There was another one in public works, but his title changed on a different date, so we did year in that title.
Well, then just go December 1st or July 1st or August 1st. So,
I'm okay, if January 13th is when it, then I would use that as.
That date's gonna change every year.
Well, you just change so it's the first pay period.
That's why we did
As of-
through the end of January. If your anniversary date was January, is what we used.
Okay.
So the end of January, that's not January 13th though. So, I still think just December 31st was the date. I understand what you're saying with the 13th. I just think go to the end of the year. I'm not trying to punish anybody or say their years of service aren't appreciated. Just saying that the December 31st would have been the date that I would have picked. So.
I don't think I ever said it was December 31st. We did years of service. Our calculation when we did it did not include that they had completed their full year of service.
Yeah, whatever date you were using, that's fine. I was assuming it was December 31st. That's the date that I would use.
Because our calculation was based on the year, so it took 2018 minus your start date year. But it didn't take into consideration those people that completed that full year.
Yeah, and some of them get hard because you have newly elected officials coming in. So January 1st is their hire date, or the 2nd, whatever you want to say it is. So, why stop at January 13th or January 31st, go to February 28th, or, if they got 6 months in, that's almost a year. The majority of it, so 7 months. Do you pick 7 months or 8 months?
So we got two separate issues here. One, when who gets the step, and one, is a deputy, is a chief deputy auditor, is her qualifications more than other chief deputies? And
So there is a statute that says that the chief deputy auditor has to have the same qualifications as the auditor. It does not specify what that education is. And I provided Chris with all of the comparables that we use to get there, including when we changed the salary the last time, back in 12 or 13. The comparable at that point was 45.
So then you're gonna say that all the other chief deputies don't have to do as much, or don't have as much of qualification, or
I'm
as many
saying it
qualifications?
doesn't require the education that's required in the auditor's office. I'm not gonna hire someone out of high school. They have to have college education that includes accounting and upper level accounting classes.
It says you have to have upper level accounting class on there?
No, it does not
To be an
specify.
auditor.
It says that you have to have the same education as the auditor. It does not specify what that education is.
This is what you sent us a while back or somewhere. Same qualifications. Doesn't say that they have to have the same education and everything. What's the qualifications to be an auditor? You gotta win the auditor's election. I mean, what's the qualifications for assessor, for collector? It doesn't say if they have to have any kind of certain education.
So you want someone that has no knowledge of GAAP or GASB preparing your CAFR or going through your audit or anything like that? That is doing the internal
I didn't say
controls
that.
well, that's what you're saying.
Absolutely
That you
not.
have no qualifications or education needed to do any of those things.
Absolutely not. I did not say that they had any qualifications.
I'm not saying that we want that, but what happens if somebody wins the election that doesn't have any qualifications? I mean, that people vote for. I mean, I'm not saying that they would, but if somebody ran for that office that wasn't qualified at all, but they won, people, they were snowballed or whatever, I don't know crap about auditing, but, I'm popular and I won an election. I mean, currently we got people in office that don't even show up, so, as far as I'm concerned, they could be, in prison. So.
I guess I would hope in that circumstance that the chief deputy has some education and
Yeah,
some
yeah,
knowledge to
I
help the
may-
office keep going.
That's me too.
But that's every office, that's exactly my point. So either you gotta raise the collectors up to the same as the auditor. They need to all be in the same category, because if the public administrator is not here, if he's detained or whatever, then the chief deputy has to be able to do the same duties as what he would be doing. I mean, we just looked at that last week, as what their qualifications were, what they have to be able to
I think
do.
you have to give some merit to the fact that the person does have a college degree and experience in the field. That certainly makes that a person in that position more valuable than my chief deputy or the other chief deputies.
But was it required for her to have that, for that position? I'm not even talking about her, the individual, I'm talking
I'm
about the
saying
position.
personally, I would not hire someone that did not have that education and
The
qualification.
current one in there got more money because she was more qualified. We went, you know, we've had all these studies done, and now we're trying to get these, the schedule, salary schedule together, and we're not even gonna follow it.
If my chief deputy had the same qualifications, then I would think they would be more valuable also.
So then you would come to us and say, all right, I wanna have, I want y'all to put yours in the same as the auditors.
I wanted to increase, and I don't know that I wanted the same as the auditors.
So it's all subjective again then.
And I think, but the other thing I
There's
think,
more responsibility.
For who?
That position has a lot more responsibility than my chief deputies.
Your chief deputy handles cash, doesn't she? Chief auditor doesn't handle any cash or
but I don't
anything.
think you can.
Cash isn't the criteria, Jeff, it's knowledge.
There-
And when you're looking at a
there's different
two-person
things.
department, when you're looking at a two-person department, that second person is doing a lot more than other chief deputies are doing.
I disagree.
Well, I don't disagree, and I have a chief deputy. You don't. You don't know what those responsibilities are. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you, but you're here one day a week. They're in my office on
Just
sometimes
because
5 days
just
a
because
week.
I'm not sitting at that office doesn't mean I'm not doing something continuously, Larry. You can go through, look at the emails and phone calls about this. It's not a one-day thing.
I understand.
So don't think that I don't know what the hell's going on around here, because I'm not sitting in the office. These girls get a hell of a lot more done because we're not up here bugging them half the time.
I understand. that,
So
but I don't think
that's
you
a
understand.
bullshit argument, but show me what the chief auditor has to do more responsibilities. Is she putting in more hours, more time? I mean, where does it say that they have to have a degree?
They have to have a knowledge of every department. We're reviewing the collector stuff, we're reviewing the sheriff stuff. We have to have a knowledge of every department, how it works. We're reviewing and making sure that their reports are correct. Each of the other chief deputies only has to know their office. We have to know every office.
You know to know the numbers. I mean, it's in here too. When we go through it, we gotta go through it too each year. You have outside auditors that come in and do this stuff and tell you where to put stuff too. So it's not just you all doing it. It's not just that we're here one day a week and we don't know what the hell's going on in
They
any
don't
of
come in
the.
and tell us where to put stuff. We prepare the capper for him, they test it and make sure that we're correct. Just like we test every other office to make sure they're correct.
Well, if y'all are fine with that auditor making, or that chief deputy making more, then I won't even argue it anymore. Cause I don't see how the chief deputies are different across the board. They've all got to be able to step up and do the job if that position is not available. So, that was my argument. It's still my argument. But I don't want anybody coming up here either. Larry, if you get somebody super qualified and they got a master's degree, PhD, well, they should get more money because they're more qualified and we need to have them. No, we got this schedule. That's where it's gotta go. So,
But I think I've provided comparables of the city and Boone County. I did not have a good comparable at the state because they have different things that they do than what we do.
yeah, it's still subjective though. So, I just want to bring it up. I think they should all be in the same category. it's gonna come up at some point, I guarantee you. Somebody's gonna come up here and say, well, I've got somebody that got more responsibilities and.
Well, it happens every time.
So then why have the
So,
salary schedule?
well-
Why are we even doing it? It's a stupid exercise then. That's why I don't like exercises. They're stupid.
Well, I'm okay
So-
with just leaving it as,
The way it sounds, everybody else is too. So if all the other chief deputies are fine with it, I totally disagree. I think they're in the same boat. I don't think that she has any more responsibilities than any of the other chief deputies. They gotta be able to step in and do the job. It's part of the job. So I still think they should all be in the same category.
So, obviously, we've had that happen before, with the treasurer's office and, you know, highly skilled person, but does the job require the highly skilled person? Obviously, it's nice to have somebody with more skills than not. But what does the job require, and what is the pay commensurate with the job qualifications? So, just reviewing some of the correspondence about some of this, but did you take a look at some of these salaries?
Mhm.
Things here?
yeah.
The ones that,
I mean, obviously.
different ones.
We're unique from other government agencies too, and so it does make it difficult to put a salary range on certain individuals.
I'm just telling you, we're gonna have some come down the road, somebody's gonna say their person is more qualified, does more stuff, we're gonna have to reconsider it again. And then the salary schedule's gonna go out the door.
Change the name of the position.
I was more arguing it for the other elected officials, including you, Larry, because I figured they should be in the same boat. I don't think that your deputy, chief deputy, does any less or has any less requirements of different types of knowledge than the chief auditor. So,
Jeff, I don't think I could do that work.
do what?
The chief deputy of the auditor's office, or the auditor's work.
If you
I'm not
weren't
saying that
necessarily
to
trained in it or
anybody in
had
my-
accounting,
Anybody in my office or any other employee from the county.
I'm not saying it to demean the position. I'm saying that position, what it requires is somebody with some knowledge of it. Or even that she could bring in whoever she wanted to and train them the way she wanted them to. You may not want somebody that's got been working out there and doing it before, because they do it their own way. And, you know, each individual has their own way of doing things.
That's true, but that's each individual office holder's
Like,
decision to make.
like I said, and you train your chief deputy to do her stuff, would the chief deputy auditor be able to come down and do the chief deputy collector stuff?
I would say she would be easier to train to do it than to take somebody from scratch and train by far.
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, that depends. If she's good with numbers, she's good with numbers, and you can train her to do that stuff. But if you have the knowledge of the GASB and such, that's a bonus, but it's not required.
I think two people putting this together, that's amazing. You know, it's,
I can
And
tell you-
that's not the only thing that we
no,
do.
I know, but I mean,
I can tell you, just knowing other collectors, being a collector for 10 years, knowing issues other collectors have, several of them have gone to jail or been convicted over that time. I count on the auditor's office keeping me out of trouble, and they do. They're a pain in my ass.
I didn't say she wasn't a pain in the ass. I agree with you.
But I know.
Just kidding, Kristen.
Just like you're a pain in mine.
But I know things are being done right, and I can count on what I'm told is the correct way to do it.
I didn't say they weren't done right. I'm just saying the chief deputy auditor has a lot of responsibilities, requires some knowledge of accounting, the other governmental rules of accounting and such. And you can train people to do both of them. Your chief auditor's job, she didn't come in knowing how to do that job.
Most of it, yes, she did.
I think you might be opening a can of worms you don't want to open, in my opinion.
I think the true
For what?
title for that position is more accountant or senior accountant. It is not chief. The reason it is chief deputy auditor is because she can sign checks and sign for me and do that kind of thing. That's why she's put into that category. But if you take that small portion of her job away, the things that she does are accountant.
So then our chief, or our senior finance assistant should be in the same book, because she's gotta know everything that's going on, be able to plug numbers in, do, HR, everything. So we need to bump hers up to the same category. So,
I don't think that they're comparable.
I think they would be. I mean, if we're gonna go that route, I mean, that's the responsibilities that she has over there. She's gotta be able to do whatever Debbie does. If Debbie's not here, be able to get into the computer to find stuff, to authorize payments, get signatures, all the HR stuff.
Jeff, I hate to argue with you, but you're pretty much just saying the value of an education isn't worth anything.
Well,
He wants you to argue with him.
the value of the education basically gives you 4 more years of just getting through life and learning some stuff before you have to get out in the real world and get trained to do it anyway.
That's absolute
Don't demean education.
But it's totally different sitting in the classroom than when you get in the real world, is what I'm saying. You can go sit in a classroom all day long, they can try to teach you how to be a carpenter, Larry.
You know,
It ain't gonna
Jeff,
frickin'
I
work.
don't have a college degree, and it's my biggest regret in my life. By far the biggest mistake I ever made.
So,
I believe that today, and I'll be 65 years old this year.
there's still things in the classroom you don't learn that you do in the real world. You can get the basics and stuff in there. You can go get your master's, PhD and stuff. That's totally different because you are actually doing hands-on stuff. But I did get the bachelor's. I sat through the classes. And it's a whole different thing out in the real world. I'm basically untrained on some of the stuff that I learned in school. And I did have GASB at Lincoln. I did like the numbers. I had fun with it. It was a pain in the butt. And I'm not saying she's not maybe even overqualified for the position. I'm just talking about the position of chief auditor, not the person in it or chief financial. So if you're fine with it and you say it's different, then like I said, I was arguing more for all the other chief deputies. I thought that they should have the same responsibilities, duties. You know, they're not gonna necessarily have the same education. You're gonna have somebody come in that's got a master's. It's not required for that position. It's a bonus for us. I mean, we're lucky to have somebody with a master's in that position, so, yes.
I mean, Danielle's, her current salary is already way over what all the other deputies make. I mean, are you gonna take money away from her, or?
No, we adjusted that. We wouldn't reduce them. And she'd still get the, I guess, the
So she'd
step
just be
raises.
way out of.
But you're
way out
also
of the
saying
scale.
4 years ago, the market to hire was 48. Now you're gonna bump the starting salary 4 years later down to 42? So it took 48 to find someone qualified like that to enter the position 4 years ago, but you're saying from
They
this
didn't-
point forward,
they
it's
didn't
only
take that
gonna
to
be
find 'em.
42.
You came in with her and said, she's got a master's, she's got all this extra stuff, and to get her here, we need to pay her more. And I don't even know if I voted for that or not.
In
back
12 or
then.
13, you moved the salary to 45.
We moved it, or because she was coming in with the extra qualifications?
I was still the chief deputy.
And, okay, so 13,
12 or 13, I don't remember the exact date.
so then all the chief deputies need to be moved up. I said, I was arguing it because I think all the chief deputies should be in the same one. If, like I said, Larry, if you're fine with it, you think there's a difference, I'll rest my case then. But I still thought they should be in the same category. And you're gonna argue for your person, Larry should argue for his person. Eric has argued for his person. So we got, if the clerk wants to argue theirs. Public administrator could be put up there because they're taking care of a whole lot of other people's stuff.
I think you make a good case. I mean, yeah, ideally in a real world, similar positions would pay similar amounts. In this instance, I'm not sure that that's the case.
All right, like I said.
It's hard for us to know what exactly goes on in all these different offices. I think this is a start. I don't think this is, the last and final of salary adjustments. I mean, I think we've done stuff at EMS, we've done stuff at the sheriff. This is a way to start us in the right path. So, I mean, I think I'm good with where the chief deputy auditor is. The years of service. I mean, if it's one day, I mean, if people started on January 1st, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but we do have to have a cutoff date. I mean, so.
What was the other one? Was it 13th or 31st? Whatever.
I had one person that fell like right in the middle of the month. It was on the 20th. That's why we included anybody that started in January. So
No,
if
you can
your
just leave it-
anniversary date was January, you got that full year of service.
We can just leave it all alone. I brought it up. I wanted to revisit it. I'm spinning wheels in the mud, but
Well, no, I think you make some good points, and we do need to try to be fair and to everyone. But again, it's I don't spend a lot of time in the auditor's office, so I know what some of their duties are, but I don't know what they do day in and day out, nor do I know what Larry does in his office all day long, but I got a taste of it, the other day when he was down there with his headset on, so answering phone calls, and telling people to go to the assessor's office.
well, I just wanted to bring it up because if I'm going to lose a vote, I want to do it like the first meeting of the year. I want to get it out of the way, and the rest of the year is going to be uphill or downhill. Downhill. Wouldn't downhill be bad? Downhill sounds like it'd be bad. It's going down. I want it to go up. I want it to get better. Oh, yeah, neither will Larry. Well,
I mean, I do agree with you. There needs to be a cutoff date. I mean, it can't be,
I could argue both sides of it. I
it
was,
can't just be January. I mean, that's giving people, you know, if you're here at this date, you get a raise. If you're not here, you don't get a raise. So, I mean, if you're here for the whole year, if you start January 15th, you may get a raise the next year. So I'm a little, I mean, is that not how we do it currently? I mean, if you're here for the full year and you get raises, you get the raise. Or do you have to be here for more than a year before you get the raise, or?
well, then that's a probationary period if you've completed your probationary period by the end of the year, right?
Right, so
Historically,
we've done it both ways. We've done, if you're here on the first, you, like this year, if you're here on the first, you get the COLA on the first. Because we've gotten ourselves in trouble before because we've moved the scale with the COLA. Well, then you didn't give it to those people because they weren't here 6 months or whatever. Well, then they start behind the person who started the first of the year because you moved the scale. So we've gone back to, if you're here on the first, you get the COLA.
If you're here on the first of the next year,
Right.
and you've been with us for how long? I mean, where does that fall? I mean,
Well, it used to be if you hadn't been here 6 months, you didn't get that raise because you
Okay.
hadn't completed that probationary period. But
Okay.
then that person fell behind the scale because the person who started the first, if you moved the scale, got the raise. Because you moved the starting salary. So that kind of went out the window because we don't want to screw up the people who started the last quarter of the year behind the person who starts in January.
so we've talked about if we give a COLA, we move the scale, right?
Yes.
Because that's the way it should be. So in that situation, if you've been here 2 weeks or 9 months, you get the raise.
Right.
You get
That
the
this,
COLA.
so this year, the starting salaries we've proposed would include the COLA.
Right. I'm talking about future years. So if we give a COLA, we move the scale, everybody that's been here gets the raise.
I think that's how you do it, yes.
But, okay, so you're saying you're gonna, we've got the scale now. We're gonna go with what we got. Then for 2020, say you give them a cost of living, I'm just gonna use 1,000, that's a round number. So they get 1,000, you're also gonna move the starting salary 1,000, up 1,000?
So we haven't talked about this, so there are other options. I mean, you can do every 2 or 3 year review and see where the COLA took you. Or you can give what COLAs you give to your current employees. We have not talked beyond what it is right now.
So a little different than what you're talking about. I mean, you're talking about $1,000, call it a COLA or whatever. But,
Yeah.
I mean, so I would say that the COLA or the cost of living or the index, what is that called? The
CPI.
CPI index. The scale needs to move by the cost of living. And so whether we give 1,000, the scale needs to move by that 1% or whatever the CPI index
But not
is.
the same 1,000.
Right. Just so that the scale moves with what a living wage is. I mean, so when we just leave everything like we did with Archer where it is, then we get to this point where, okay, well, we can't find anybody for that wage, so.
Well, you just need to beware, if we don't give a cost of living as high as the CPI, and you're moving that scale with the CPI, but you're not moving your current people with the CPI, you're gonna get to the point where you're hiring new people above where your current people are.
That's what I was
I
getting
mean,
at.
that's gonna be the case if you're not moving them somewhat in the same,
So if you're gonna move the starting, you're gonna move the existing that same amount, plus their cost of living raise.
I would disagree with moving the starting salaries. That's what got us into our compression issue, because of what she just talked about.
I think it probably needs to be more of every 2 or 3 years, you look at what the CPI was over those years and evaluate if we need to adjust our starting salaries, but,
And then if you do that, you gotta adjust everybody else already.
well, you would hope that
Kinda
we're
like-
giving some sort of raises in the meantime, but, and that we're kind of keeping up with some of that.
But if you're only giving COLAs and you move the scale, everybody that comes in makes the same as the guy that's been here for several years.
If they're only
Possibly.
getting COLAs, yes.
Right. But if you give a 2% or a flat dollar amount and you move it by the CPI, then your scale moves, but yet other people have gotten more than what that index is.
So I definitely think these are all conversations
Mhm.
we need to have about, but this was the first step to get a starting salary for each position.
I just think there needs to be a date. I mean, because if you say it's January 31st, somebody will say, well, I started on February 1st.
Yeah.
I mean, so,
Well, you
it's-
can't.
I mean, so
I think it should be the day that the raise becomes effective, which is the 13th.
that's all subjective to when we approve the budget.
I think in years going forward, there's no steps, so this is the only year that it matters as far as steps. In every other year, the plan is that whatever the first pay period of January is when those raises will take effect. So like your COLA or merit or whatever you would give in the future will take effect on whatever the first pay period of January is. That's what the 13th is this year, is the first pay period in January. So first full pay period.
Yeah,
in
that's what I
January.
was kind of thinking was, because it's gonna change every year, but if you do it the first pay period.
We're not
So the
changing
first-
anything every year. This just has to do with
Well-
this salary schedule and implementing it. Once
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
the
implemented.
steps go
then
away,
it's
there are
gone,
no
yeah.
steps after this.
So, well, basically it's gonna affect 4 or 6 people. I forget how many.
Yes.
Debbie had showed me, but if we go December 31st versus January 31st, I think January 31st was the date I was using. It might have been the 13th. I don't know what date Debbie used for sure, Kristen, but there was 4 or 6 people. Maybe there's 4 in general and 1 in the
There's
assessment.
4 in general, 1 in the assessor, and like I said, I think there was 1 in Public Works, but it didn't affect his because his title changed on a different date.
So our paycheck is on the 13th? That's a
No.
Saturday.
The
That's a Saturday,
13th is the
Sunday.
first day of the first pay period in January. Pay period before that starts in December.
Right.
So the first full pay period of January starts on the 13th. So you actually will not see the raise until February, because we don't get paid for that pay period
Till February 1st.
Right.
So you're saying the day is the 13th then? Or prior to the 13th? If you were hired before January 13th?
I think it only affects 1 person that falls after the 13th in the month of January. The rest started on the 1st.
Okay, let's go to the 13th, so.
the 13th is the date you want to use.
Yeah,
Anyone employed before January 13th?
yeah.
Okay.
All righty. Well, that was that.
Yes,
I don't want you all to misunderstand. I would love to see y'all give my chief deputy a raise. I think she's worth more, but I don't think her position is at the same, it can be compared to the chief deputy auditor's position.
That's why I rest my case. You made my argument moot. So, I was arguing to that case, so. I'm gonna treat this witness as hostile.
you want John to tase him?
I don't even know if that's the,
Wait till you approve the budget first, then we'll talk about it.
screw it, tase me.
I think we should have done you first, you know, I'm sorry.
It'd be less
I
painful.
ran out of work even.
Yeah, we should've got yours out of the way.
Well,
so you didn't
hopefully you
have
got
to
all
watch
your
this.
hostility out of the way.
I wasn't hostile. I was just arguing. I figured the first day is the day to argue, man. Let's get it out there.
Oh,
So,
the courtroom's a place to argue.
no, I'm thinking Prison Brews or somewhere like that's a place to argue.
No,
Couple drinks and.
no. Okay, I don't know if you guys are aware of, I'm assuming you probably do, that Locke Thompson has poached my assistant prosecutor. That was, yeah, he called it poached, yeah. I took taken away. And when we were down here for budget, I told you, and you guys remember how my budget works, how we get reimbursed from the state, but the state hasn't been giving us any more money for years and years. And we have that pot we call indirect costs, which is supposed to be what it costs the county to manage our office, so it's money, we get extra money over what it actually costs. And that's been going down every year because we've been having to use more of that money to hit, you know, the biggest expense, obviously, salary. And I don't remember exactly when the year was that Mark Richardson decided to took on Callaway County without asking me, because Callaway County is a very mess, and they hadn't been doing anything, but the state was begging somebody to take over Callaway County. So we added Callaway County to our group, and now we have 4 circuits in 5 different counties. So circuits mean different judges, different law days, so it takes more to cover that. So then when we told them we'd only take it if they gave us enough for an attorney. Well, they have increased the salary for that attorney. So we're getting closer to our ceiling, and the way the cooperative agreement works between you and the other counties is that if you go over, then you have to get money then there's a percentage that each county pays of that money that goes over the budget. And we haven't ever done that. And consider yourselves rich compared to Marys County and Gascony County and Osage County and Callaway. So I know if I go and ask them for more money, it's not gonna work. So I talked with Locke this morning, and he was in agreement with me that and it kind of makes it ideal if happening at this time that we try to see if I can get a part-time attorney to help me. But I will have to take on a lot more of the responsibility and do the in-work and basically have somebody go into court for me. And it'll be trying to find the right person that can do that. And that because if I can get a part-time person, hopefully I can find somebody. I'm hoping I can find somebody retired. I may not even be, I'm hoping I can find somebody to come in and do that. And basically right now, the way I figure it, the cost of an attorney with the retirement and the health insurance is costing about $65,000 right now, because when you add those two, that's with if you take that $51,000, hiring fresh out of law school, trying to find somebody fresh out of law school, for an attorney one position. And I don't know exactly what the cost will be to hire somebody part-time. I'm guessing because I talked with Kristen about the 1,000-hour cap, because most people won't want to pay COLA by reaching over that cap. Somewhere between, I'm thinking maybe around 30,000, because they're not going to be getting any kind of benefits from the county. So that's what I was thinking on that. But if I'm gonna take on a lot more responsibility, then I talked with Lockwood this morning that, and I didn't even know you guys had reclassified that there's an attorney 3 position, because you guys know how long I've been around here. And we're not gonna say, Jeff. But about switching my position, either, if you want to call it an attorney 3, call it an attorney 3. So I can, and I don't know what the other attorney 3s that, you know, he hired in are making. But if I'm gonna have to do all the in work and do all the charging decisions and make all the decisions and handle everything on day to day by myself, then I need to make more money. Because it's requiring me to do a lot more work, and I'm already, you know, supervising 3 people, or 4 people, an attorney and 3 staff positions. And it's not just that I don't let them go, they're constantly asking me what to do, because my staff basically acts like probation officers, because they supervise people that are on probation. Because that's the only way we can drag money out of people, is by close supervision of them.
So these other counties, Callaway, Osage,
Gasconade.
yeah, they're supposed to pay.
Oh, if we go above that, of what my cap is from above the 354,000. We never have done that, because years ago when we first started out, not all counties have this, but years ago, because ours was one of the first counties, they had a program called indirect cost, and that certain counties had it. So at a point, the county was probably profiting over 50, 60,000 a year on us. They used to base it on how much you collected money, but now it's a flat percentage of what the costs are. But our cap, our total amount that we cannot go over is around 354,000 for 5 positions.
So right now, the total cost for the child support program is under what the state reimburses.
Right. I have never cost the county money. And what I'm looking at is, I don't want to hire somebody in a year, and then I reach that position, and then I have to terminate somebody because I don't have enough money. There's other offices, child support offices around the state that had to do that. And I don't want to hire somebody in and get rid of them. But if I'm having to do a lot more work and a lot more responsibility, then I need to be an attorney 3. And I talked with Locke about that this morning. Because I didn't find out he had poached Amanda until, was it New Year's Eve? New Year's Eve. Happy New Year to me. I knew he was talking to her, but she had not made her decision because she really liked working in our unit. So it was a very tough decision for her.
So are you gonna replace her position and then you're wanting to hire a part-time, or you're just gonna?
To eliminate that position and try to hire a part-time. And it may take me quite a while to do it, to try to find somebody and to basically go to court for me when I can't be there. Because when you have criminal cases, you've got to deal with all the circuit judges and the associate judges in every county. And when you have 4 different circuits, a lot of those law days overlap. And you're also spending a lot of time in court, and you see how I bring stuff and try to do stuff, and I'll have my laptop, you know, with me trying to do stuff in court. And before, you know, like over in Callaway County, had the Chris Wilson kicking me under the table because I'm focusing on what I'm doing, and I don't hear the case being called because I'm trying to get work done when I'm in the courtroom. Because in Callaway County, you can sit there for 4 hours for just a couple cases. So yeah, you have to be, you know, proficient at doing different things. And it's mainly because I've been doing this for such a long time. I can handle the work, but it's going to require, you know, a lot more concentration and a lot more juggling.
He doesn't have any assistant prosecuting 3s up there currently.
The only one he's bringing in is a part-timer.
then on the pay scale, the 3 is gonna be
And I
less than where you're at anyway.
So Holly would be at the top end of that. I haven't looked to see.
Yeah, I should still be
And I'm
above
not
that.
planning on being Lucille Bodie and being here forever.
Yeah, I was
I'm not gonna
impressed.
take the tumble down the back steps, but she did that one day.
Basically, if you did that, you'd just be getting a title change then, right?
Well,
The
the
way
fact,
the scale currently is, Holly, I don't know that even changing the title would give you more money.
If I got the most current schedule, which I think this one is, then it wouldn't. Not even with the steps for the years.
but to stay within the budget, I'm gonna be doing an attorney and a half.
Yeah, I
job.
I understand exactly what you're saying there. You're gonna basically eliminate
A
full-time,
full-time position,
add a part-time,
Yeah.
and you're gonna take on additional duties,
yeah.
so.
I mean, and that's the only way I can keep it and stay under the budget. And of course, you know, my retirement, like my junior attorney's retirement payment every month is less than mine because I've been around here for so long. That mine's a lot less than what it is. And I'd be cutting the retirement in the,
So is the first assistant prosecutor gonna be a 3? Is that what I'm understanding? Does he have that position already filled? Do you know?
yeah, Scott Fox is here. He was here today.
So would that be the same as a first assistant prosecutor?
What's the first assistant
Uh,
prosecutor?
I guess that's like
I mean,
his chief deputy
You're
is.
trying to compare like contract law with criminal law, because I mean, I do a lot of criminal work.
I'm just trying to go
My
with
work I
the-
do is differently, and I also do a lot of civil work.
I'm just trying to go with where the
Right.
salary schedule's at, so we can justify that, so if we have where you fit into the schedule. So, like I said, with the assistant 3, that won't do anything for you, but Kristen, you know, is the first assistant prosecutor gonna be a 3?
No, he created a position for the first assistant.
But the position is still saying assistant prosecuting attorney 2, the title's first assistant prosecutor, and the pay is not, so is there a different,
I think you may have an old pay schedule.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we
there's a-
have the newest, with the newest
Hit
people in
refresh.
it.
His new position got added at the end, and I'm not sure it got added to this pay schedule one we have.
but we had something in there though for budget. Even though, I mean, the position's there's not a name attached to it.
Right, I'm saying Locke came in the process of talking about the budget and created a position titled First Assistant Prosecutor.
But it's not in the step pay charts.
I may not have gotten it added to the step pay charts. Cause he didn't have the position before, it was only the starting salary for that position.
So then is that where Holly would fall as, maybe not a first assistant
Assistant,
prosecutor?
the
a
only
Second
assistant.
assistant prosecutor, only assistant
Yeah,
prosecutor.
the
for-
only.
For child support, so is that, where would that fit into, do we need to go back and revisit that then?
I was gonna say, we didn't talk to Locke about that, he didn't propose changes to child support.
I gave him a very brief synopsis of child support this morning, because he's kind of got a lot on his plate right now.
Yeah, welcome to the jungle.
Yeah, well, his jungle's pretty, got a lot of lions and tigers and bears in it. You know.
But you're going from a full-time assistant prosecutor to just part-time,
Just a
and then you're gonna take over more.
Yeah. That's, because it would be hard for somebody to come in that didn't know what they were doing and do it, because I've been doing it, and I have great relationships with my circuit judges in the other counties, and my, very good with my associate ones, that I'm able to, well, Judge Schonar calls it, what's Holly's Law Day? You know, so they're good with helping me schedule things and doing things. And then they also know that I serve on the Missouri Supreme Court Committee, the child support, that helps establish what child support should be, the guidelines that everybody, I do that. And then I also serve on the Prosecutors Advisory Committee, which is about 5 or 6 attorneys that work with MAPA closely on child support issues, and then liaison with the Family Support Division.
It's gonna add a lot to your plate, though.
Because I've been doing it, I can do it, and having somebody to help me. I mean, I've survived 3 maternity leaves, so, Locke is also, like, if I'm double booked for a little bit, because the next few months, he would let Amanda go to court for me if I needed to in the other counties. But I also have very good prosecutors. I've got a new one down in Marys County I haven't dealt with before. My other prosecutors, if you absolutely can't make it to court, they can make an appearance for you. Basically just push it along for you. But otherwise, I can't handle 5 counties in 4 different circuits, especially in 4 different circuits. That's just too many. You know, Boone County and Callaway, they have like 4 circuit judges. So they have 4 different circuit law days a month. So that's the reason Callaway requires a lot more. It's time-intensive county.
I'm surprised with the way Boone and Callaway work that we'd be doing Callaway.
Nobody wanted to take Callaway County.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the but we took it, and basically they had stopped doing child support cases. And as a prosecutor, I mean, the statute is you have to do child support cases. I mean, the state doesn't even have to give you a contract away, but the state found out the only way they could get work done on these cases was if they entered contracts, and that was the reason they started, going. And it used to be years ago that it would, prosecutors just kind of did it part-time, and they would have somebody who was supposed to be working, you'd keep timesheets and show how much time you were working, and then nothing was usually getting done on it. You'd go to court, but the cases wouldn't get worked behind the scene. And that's the reason they started setting up the projects, because it wouldn't, like the small counties, you couldn't have a full-time position there doing child support. But you've got to have somebody that's doing it constantly, just because it's a specialized area.
I'm fine with going with your suggestion. I'm just worried that you're gonna be overextended.
I know, as I said, and like somebody coming in that knew child support well enough, like down the road could handle it also. And then when I'm gone, if somebody can't handle it, then it would have to be say, okay, state. Eventually, surely the state's going to have to give counties. I don't know what. Of course, they haven't given their state employees a raise in 15 years. I don't know when the last time.
Hold your breath on that one.
No.
Yeah.
I think if we're gonna do it, we're gonna have to get the guess a new title. We've got the position already as Assistant 3, but that's not gonna be any more money.
And I like how you're not saying to Jeff that I'm old.
I'm catching up with that too. Or either Heather is catching up with me.
Yeah, so I guess I don't know what the proposal is. I mean, obviously, Holly, you talked about you're gonna need more money. Well, this proposal doesn't give you any more money going to Assistant Prosecutor 3.
Well, I didn't know coming down here, I didn't know, I
Yeah.
hadn't had time.
So,
But I knew budget time was
Right.
fast approaching. I know it's a lot easier to do a budget than do an amended budget, I
Right.
figure.
so I don't know what, I mean, obviously, if you're gonna make a full-time position a part-time position, that's a savings. But then I need to know what Locke's proposing as far as a pay adjustment for you or something, if that's what you're talking about. So I don't know what that is.
I would suggest calling it, giving it a different title.
So you're gonna just take a different title with no pay adjustment?
No, I want a pay adjustment if I'm doing all that, if I'm doing the extra work.
Well, that's where I think you're just gonna have to get with Locke and try to bring something back. I mean, we don't approve the budget till next week, so. Anyway,
And I can get with Kristen.
I just need some guidance as to where we think that position should be, and whether you're creating a new position for her, because she obviously is not falling it within the titles that are there currently.
well, I just wanna be real careful with how we're doing this stuff, because the position is the position you're currently in. The assistant prosecutor that you have is the position that we need. So we're gonna change some stuff to accommodate a different scenario, but if you leave or somebody else leaves, it all needs to go back. So we change these titles and different things, and we got 4 or 5 people here, and now we got a part-time person, and then we go to a full-time person. We need to have some history there that says, here's where we were, this is what we changed, and for these reasons, and now if you retire, you leave, something else happens, it all goes back to where it was. Because I understand certain circumstances require changes, but at the end of the day, we were doing all this work with these people for this amount.
When I retire, I would look very hard trying to find someone's gotta come in. You do not want somebody coming in that doesn't know what they're doing with child support, just because it's so specialized. And, I mean, if Amanda's still around, she really liked doing the child support work, you know. So you might be able to poach her back if she hasn't moved, or even if she's moved on to something else to come back.
Well, we've done something like this before. We eliminated a position and added duties to the other existing positions. So along the same lines, and we did that on a trial basis and basically said, we'll try it. If it doesn't work, then we'll go back. So I guess, kind of like Chris said, we need to know what the actual proposal is. What is the title, the pay, salary? And like I said, I don't know if I have the old one here, but it's the assistant prosecuting 3 wouldn't do any, it wouldn't help you at all. So do we need to see if we added the chief? It's just a title.
I know my counterparts around the state, I'll have to look exactly, but I think their titles might be called directors.
That's probably what we need to get together, so we have the same comparisons like we used for the other rest of the salary schedule. And there, I don't know, we're gonna create a new title. You have Chief Child Support Assistant Prosecuting Attorney 3, or only Child Support Prosecuting Attorney, so.
Yeah, I think if you just get with Locke, and then if Locke can come back with a proposal or something, since we were talking about his budget, so.
Yeah, we probably need some kind of workshop.
Do you want that on the agenda for next week or something? Because the approval for the budget is next week.
Yeah.
But if we approve the budget with that much money in the salary line, it's just gonna move some of it around, the money's still gonna be in there.
Right now,
So-
she has the 2 full-time positions.
Right, yeah.
And you're not gonna retire anytime soon, right? You keep,
I got 2 kids in college.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not, no.
Okay.
I'm not that old, Sam.
Oh, well.
No, not with 2 kids in college.
Yeah, I'd say get with Locke, get the proposal together. And then, I mean, if we need to put it on the agenda for next week, we can do it.
Okay.
Because we don't have any numbers or anything that we're necessarily looking at.
And one thing, I don't know if I dare broach this or not. I've got one staff person who was with me for a long time, and then with the way you guys did the schedule, her husband drug her off because he's a football coach, and then when she moved back to town, she came back. I begged, and she came back to me. So she's actually had more time in with me than what the person who's below her is. And because of the way, you know, she hasn't been here that long, when you did the adjustment thing, she got like $22.94, and the other person got $1,022.94. So I'm gonna have a disparity in what they're making, even though they both got the same amount. The one that's gonna be earning less has more time in with me than what the one beneath her will be making more money.
How long was she gone?
It was right at a year. Right at a year. Because of football. And I hate to see somebody, you know, that has more time and making less money. That was, you know, when she came back in, no retraining, I had to do none of that. She came back in, immediately picked up the cases and started going with them. And she would not have left if it wasn't for football.
I think that's unfortunate, but, you know, people leave all the time and they have to come back in at kind of a starting salary. I mean, even though they're trained and ready to go, I mean, you know, it's.
And I hate bringing the education work, because she's my only one that has a four-year degree too. And the other 2, so.
Yeah, but that's probably why you're able to hire back at close to probably what she was making previously too.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just one, so, I mean, but we got people that go from part-time to full-time they leave and then they come back, and it's like, yeah, you know.
We had that, the assessor.
We hire you back, but, and you're a great employee, but at the same time, you know, this is where you start. I mean, it could be in all departments, and so it's, you know, it kinda sucks, but, I mean, I'm just one, so.
I can argue both sides. How much time you want?
I don't think I can handle Jeff's arguing anymore. I'm going back to him for a second.
Okay.
I mean, I know that's been our policy, that's what we've said is, you know, if they leave and they come back, they're starting over. Unfortunately. But we've also had people come up and argue that somebody's coming in with this much experience and much more qualified, and we give them more money, so what's the difference? Not that I want to argue anymore.
Really?
If that's gonna be a policy, we're gonna stick to it, but, I mean, you can't make exceptions for people coming in with other qualifications and getting more money either then.
Dallas won.
That's right.
Trying to get you a better move. Dallas won, remember that.
Hey, you can't choke in the playoffs if you're not in the playoffs, buddy, so.
We'll go back to budget discussion. Did we,
So
Did
Holly's
you
gonna
have
get her
some-
proposal.
some questions, Matt? that-
Happy New Year, gentlemen.
Happy New Year. Yay.
So I emailed the committee yesterday about the stretchers and the way that, so initially the stretcher money was built into the ambulance, which was separate from the other capital line items. But when we separated the stretchers and the ambulances out, because we didn't do them in the same purchase, so then they came out of our proposed capital for next year. So what we would like to know is if we can have that money that was put in for the stretchers and the ambulances put back into that capital that we had planned. And then the money that we're recouping back from the sale of the old stretchers put in there as well. So right now, roughly 130,000, I believe it is, came out for the purchase of those stretchers, right, the first payment on those stretchers. But that came out of our proposed budget line item, and we'd like to replace that back with that money that was basically allocated elsewhere, but then taken and wasn't reallocated back in, if that makes sense. Hopefully I'm explaining that well.
So just a background, he had 470 in his ambulance line where we only had 381, so there was some savings there.
Right.
And then we put the revenue of the 88 for the stretchers into the revenue side, and the whole 122 for the expense of the stretchers, and take into consideration the different, like, you know. We stuck with the 875 that was in capital, is pretty much, we didn't take into consideration any of that movement.
Right, so can we put the 88 for the stretchers and the difference from the ambulance savings into his capital?
You can, yes. You need to tell us that if that's what you want to do.
Well, I mean, it seems like if we're getting 88,000 on trade for the stretchers, that could go to offset the cost that we're expending it.
So those stretchers are now in a separate line for you because we created a capital lease line because we have to track those stretchers as a lease now because of that 5-year plan to pay them off.
But that money was taken out of the initial capital line,
Right.
correct? Okay. So next year in the budget, that we'll just need to have that extra line, is that, like, when we're doing it, just to keep that in there, is that correct? Is what you're saying, I'm assuming?
So like if you pull up, did you have the estimate up? You're probably not updated.
It's in 650 though.
But so next year, I just need to, when we're doing it, the capital, that money will be in a separate line from regular capital?
Right.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Right,
Okay.
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, that makes
I mean,
sense.
I'm fine, we can add to his capital line, you just need to tell us what you want that number to be. It was 875, but then we took the Cox and the Sierra Wireless amounts that we've already encumbered
Right,
off of that.
right.
So if you want to add something back to it, we need to know what that is.
So Debbie, you had a funny look when I was talking about adding 88,000 back into that, so.
I mean, it was on the revenue side, so we already had included it in the revenue.
So when we say the revenue side, I don't know what, just revenue coming in and total
The 88
total revenue?
coming in, and then the 122, the total expense for the cost is the expense going out.
Okay. So it's in his total budget.
So the 88's not offsetting the 22 in any way currently.
We're just talking about in the sales tax, not in the EMS budget.
Right.
Right.
And the ambulances are in the sales tax as well.
Yes. So that line was 470, but we've adjusted it now to be what the 2 ambulances are actually going to cost us, 381 and 500 or.
Right.
So that line actually reduced because we knew exactly what it was. So he's asking for that money back.
Asking for the difference plus the 88,000 for the cots.
So is the 88 gonna be applied to the cots?
Not currently.
No.
Well, so the way we looked at it was round numbers. Let's say 125,000 was the first payment. When we were looking at that the first year, because the 88 that would be coming in from them purchasing them back, right, would offset some of that, is how we were taking that into account. But because it went into the revenue side, but coming out of the capital side, right? So the money, the 125 came out of capital, but we didn't take that money that we were using to offset that cost, that 88, and put it into the capital. So that's where that difference on that specific issue is. Right, but I can't use it for capital purchases. Line item, right.
I'm good. I mean, I think the difference in the ambulances should go into the capital, and I think the 88,000 should go into the capital. So, obviously that.
Okay.
Good, or?
I'm good.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what Sam said.
I'm good.
I didn't want to be in agreement with both y'all, but I guess I am. Yes, I totally agree with it. It goes back in capital. That's what bottom line is, right? All right.
I assume anything that's purchased out of there, you guys are gonna get approval for in here, and we're gonna do a PO for. So I know what we should pay out of there.
Yeah, in the capital.
Yes.
Yeah, Matt's gonna come talk to us here shortly, and we're gonna.
So my plan is to take and do like a quarterly, because we're not gonna try to purchase it all at once. So come in with a quarterly plan. That way we can try to do it all at once quarterly, so I don't have to come up here. Though I love you gentlemen, I don't wanna be up here every Tuesday, so.
I see another bet coming here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
4
quarterly,
minutes.
I'm thinking
10
even
minutes?
bi-monthly will not even. So.
Only 20?
I'll take the over on
I
it.
think when we were on 4 minutes, I think it was like 1,000.
If you don't ask questions, I don't go over 4 minutes.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so obviously if Matt has to bid some of that capital, then we'll have to approve the bid or whatever, but if it's a cooperative purchase or something.
We still need to get that advertised and all that. Or, not advertised, I'm thinking sole source.
Right, yeah, if it's a sole source or.
I think the main thing is just so Debbie knows what's going on.
So,
And is there a certain amount, like if it's a $1,200 capital purchase, do you still want that coming up, or do you just want that communicated? How would you like that done? Like from your guys' aspect for approval?
So it'd fall under the bidding requirements.
Correct.
So I think, if you can just communicate that, here's what we want to buy, we don't need to bid this, just so that we're all kind of on the same page.
Okay.
This is what we're looking at. As long as you don't buy stuff and stick it in the back closet, we don't use it for 2 years.
That won't be a problem. I promise that. Yeah, there's nowhere to put it anywhere. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
We got anything else?
Bill, John?
Only I was gonna ask is, we go ahead and put in the budget for the radio tower received a message this morning.
We didn't do
They
it.
better ask. They came
Well, I
here
don't know that
last
we put it in the
month.
budget, but they came in, it wasn't, total price was 31,000
Well,
or something.
that was the max,
What was our share? I don't remember. being that much.
31,000 with our share.
I think 31 was our share.
Right, that was our share, the other departments put in their money.
That
I
would come out of capital.
think that's what you're talking about.
We didn't specify a lot of capital, but I didn't have it on the list, so.
Kinda wanna ensure that was in there, 'cause we had to order the tower, they had a deadline, so we wouldn't have ordered the tower, so.
Nope.
Well, I'm not saying,
I'm
even
just
though,
teasing.
you know, they told us, commission decides yay or nay, they still know they had a deadline on the bids.
Yeah.
I think we,
I think it all-
We didn't indicate when they were here. We didn't
No.
give them an answer.
No, you didn't.
So. And that was just a one-time cost, if I remember
Yes, sir, I
right.
think it was just, if we did it before, it was just an MOU that the county commission did with, Polk County Emergency Radio System. It was just a one-time deal.
See, that would probably come out of 650 or 700.
Comes out of 650
It's up to you guys.
out of the emergency services sales tax.
Breaking stuff.
Either one.
Remember, it was like 31 is what, you know what you said?
Yes, that was the cap.
Yeah.
Is that for the purchase of the tower and the
Tower
installation?
Installation, yes.
So obviously we'll need some type of agreement or something and,
I'll work with Jill on that, Chris. I think we can take what we did the last time, redo the dates.
and we just need to decide where it's gonna come out of
MOU
too.
contract, yes.
We need to make the sheriff pay for that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the Polk County Fire is actually our backup. So, if you wanted,
For all emergency services in the county, it's pretty well used.
if you wanted law enforcement fund to pay some of that, I wouldn't have a problem.
So maybe we can get an agreement and figure out where that's gonna come from. That shouldn't affect the budget.
It is maybe. This is
Yes,
capital
capital.
currently listed out.
But it would come out of
I think just take it out of our capital and keep yours. I may appreciate the offer, but it's being used for everything, for emergency services, ambulance, backup.
Ambulance, fire.
Public Works.
They could, yeah, with their tower,
So-
sure.
So I mean,
only if they take over animal control.
No.
oh,
Still
I
for
did,
my phone's ringing.
I did.
No,
I did.
we don't need radios. Smoke signals.
Do you think it come out of our capital?
I think that's what I would do, just. Since it's split up amongst all of it. I mean, we could split it up and take a little out of each one of them, but I think just take it out of our capital and be done with it.
Good with that?
Yep.
All right.
And I thought the price was really fair too, that they were working with us on, so.
Okay, thank you, I'll get the paperwork to Jill.
Okay, yeah, get us an agreement so we can sign it.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
don't think so. And we had several things that, Matt, I didn't answer a lot of your emails on them things. I mean, there's still, like the background checks and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know what, if we need to work on the policy, if that's gonna be part of it.
I think it was under the bid amount, so.
Driver's
I'd say you could do
license
it.
things were,
So that probably has a legal component that we may want to discuss in closed session.
well, that's where I was gonna go with, but all right. Let's put it in closed session then, and then if it's not anything, we can come back out of it and talk in general. Cause I would have some general questions about it, I think. So we'll get the legal part out of the way first and then. So I'll save those arguments for another day. They're not arguments, they're just questions, so. So that's with the background checks, driver's license. So I can delete all those emails now. Got 72 of them.
So yes, we can
Your
talk
name's
about
on
with
it.
that whenever you like. We just need to have that conversation. I don't know how to put that, so. It's something I think in generalities you can come out of closed session and talk about, but the specifics probably can't be closed session.
Okay. Do we need to do that next week then? We got a meeting next week? A couple of them?
Maybe talk to Jill and find out what that falls under, and then have her put it on there.
Let's get it on the agenda for next week, either closed or open, or both.
Do you have anything else, Matt, that we had emailed on? I know you had a couple of questions though.
Nothing that I can think of now.
We had some emails about the smoking area outside. It's complies with everything, right? I know some of it goes up to the windows and some people don't like that, but we're away from the doors and windows, so.
Yeah, 10 feet, I think, was all.
From the entrance.
And the
From the public entrance.
designated smoking area is a picnic table, right?
That's where everybody congregates, that's what I answered back. I said, I don't.
We might have our wellness group look into that too.
Okay.
Well, it was inferred that they were just standing outside the door smoking. I said, I haven't. I said, now we have some of the wonderful people
Is the
from.
picnic table designated smoking?
That's what I had thought.
We'll
Is
have
that
to go back
not,
on that last,
is that not in writing, or?
we'll have to go back on that last ordinance, if you guys did an ordinance or something. It seems like we did. Because of the 10-foot thing, there was something
Right.
written down. I'm not sure if we designated a place.
For public entrances.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but all the entrances over there are public.
No, sir.
Not the boiler room.
The one going to the boiler room, the ones going to the detention, those aren't public.
That's true.
But that elevator back there is.
The elevator is, yes.
And if it's cold and it's windy, they will stand closer to the door. They shouldn't. They shouldn't.
So, I mean, what are you gonna do about that though? Gonna get arrested?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it is a city issue.
That's where the email came from.
But do we
Yeah.
have to, I mean, we don't have to
I,
comply with that necessarily.
I just tell them to enforce it. It's not our problem.
See if I can dig up the ordinance for it.
There was a citizen.
It's a city ordinance, right?
A citizen complained to the city about our employees smoking at the door.
Well, and I mean, and that is a city ordinance, so that would be enforced by JCPD. However, if you found people doing that, my suggestion would be first to contact whoever they work for and talk with them first before you. Because you're always wanting people to follow the law versus when you go after them. Having to write tickets and all that other sort of stuff.
I think you guys did do a smoking ordinance, didn't you?
Maybe older than.
I thought we had something
I
that
thought
we
there
were
was something
designating the
that
picnic table
the county
area.
adopted as far as not smoking right next to the entrances.
I mean, it doesn't matter where they go, it gets into the windows and stuff, and nobody's ever gonna be happy, but we need to make sure they're not staying right outside the, I think the issue with the door down here is that that's the handicap entrance.
Yeah.
So we do have to keep them away from that door. But to that boiler room though, I think they stand in there just to get out of the wind.
I've never seen them stand there, though. Whenever I've seen them, they're either standing by the table, or my staff will actually step outside the door of the detention area and smoke out in the alleyway. But that's not a public door.
Let Debbie go to look and see if we have an
She
argument.
went to look, see if she could find a copy.
Yeah, if we have it, then you have to enforce it. Come over and.
John doesn't have to do anything. He's elected.
We have, they smoke at
We've
the
got
facility, but it's
2011.
at the exit door.
2011 county non-smoking ordinance for the purpose of advancing public health and welfare and protecting the right of non-smokers to breathe smoke-free air on the property of Cole County. The new ordinance prohibits smoking in all county-owned or leased buildings and vehicles. The smoking in outdoor areas of county property is prohibited within 10 feet of exterior walls of county buildings unless the area is designated by the Cole County Commission as a smoking area. Watch for signs. So, do we have signs down there that say,
So it's 10 feet from a wall?
that's what that email said, so let me
Exterior
pull up the
wall,
ordinance.
county building, unless area is designated by the county commission as a smoking area.
And I don't think that we've designated that as a smoking area, have we? Or did we?
All the time I've been here, that's the smoking area, so I.
I give Chris that copy from me.
Here, give this to Chris, I got mine here on the email.
Oh.
That way you can put what yours with the minutes if you. It does say within 10 feet of exterior walls.
2011.
You gotta stand out 10
That was
foot from the
before
wall.
we replaced the drafty windows.
Well, we kind of invited it with a picnic table out there, I guess.
Thanks.
So we don't have any designated smoking areas, huh?
I think I just assumed that that area was a designated smoking area, cause that's where everybody smoked at. So I don't, we probably need to put a sign up there and have it designated,
That, you get 2 parking tickets.
but
They may want to even review it. I mean, that was done in 2011. We may want to even review it and check at what other places, what they have. Some of them don't let you smoke on any of their property at all. Yeah.
Well, if it's not designated smoking area, could we designate it a little further away from buildings?
Off our property.
Well, I know it comes up into the windows right there in between those buildings, and I'd like to leave my car windows open occasionally.
Not sure where you would go. Behind the jail? Behind the old jail? I don't know.
Send them over to the library.
so-
The table's over at the library.
So first of all, their windows shouldn't be open because we're heating and cooling, and they're either doing something that affects that.
I don't know if it should just change it 10 feet of exterior doors, but as far as walls.
It's 10 feet away.
The housing authority does 25 feet from the main door.
Is that like at the towers?
Yep.
So they have-
Those are all public entrances, though. I still don't think you don't have to comply with this, it's not a public entrance.
Which door isn't public?
Well, the boiler room door's not public.
Right.
Anything with detention with our area is not public. So the only two doors for the courthouse would be the two entrances into the, well, three entrances.
So
Two
a
entrances
whole
and
can of worms.
Yeah.
So the elevator is the main entrance.
The elevator.
And then the exit.
yeah, the elevator, the other door, and then,
Well, I think what we had a problem with was they were staying right outside the door. And so we did this to try to get them away from the doors.
Yeah, but you're just talking about employees. I mean, what about all the people that are in the courthouse on a day-to-day basis? And how are you gonna regulate that? And if you can't enforce it, then what's the point?
you could put some, I don't know if there's signs outside those public entrances, but you could put a sign up that says no parking within so many feet. If there's an issue, we can, us or the PD can go up and say, you can't smoke this close to the door, you can move away. They're gonna do it, they're not gonna fight you on it.
I mean, it's a city ordinance already anyway,
It
right?
is.
So really,
So is theirs 10 feet from the door? Is that what the ordinance city?
Yeah,
code says?
I think that's what we were.
so if we want to be more restrictive, we could put 10 foot, 25 foot, whatever we want to put.
I wouldn't, you're gonna complicate things. If you do that, I'd keep it the same as what their ordinance is.
I don't disagree with that. I'm fine with just leaving it alone. I do question why we put 10 foot from the walls though.
Yeah.
If that was because
I think it
the
was
windows
like-
leaked.
Yeah, I think Larry was right. I think it's because of the,
You just said Larry was right.
he was, this once. And I said it on the air, so.
It's starting the year off right there.
Second, and I only get one.
Well, if y'all wanna make some differences, I don't feel inclined to make anything. If somebody's got a complaint or they see somebody there, then they need to say something then so we can address it with that person. Don't email us 2 weeks later because they emailed the mayor and then she has to email us. I don't even know who it was. It may not have been an employee. How we gonna
Well,
contact
that's what
them?
I kind of told Carrie. I said, you know, our employees are all, that I've ever seen, have always been there on the picnic table, which is more than 10 feet from a door. But I said, we've got a lot of people that use the library. You've got, with the people paying their taxes, you know, I've seen, you know, they'll stand outside and finish a cigarette before they come in to pay you. You know, I'm not gonna walk up to them and say, hey, you can't smoke here.
I'd put
We could put up signage.
I would put signs up, and then I would let the court marshals know that if they see it, that they can move people off, because they can, I mean, they watch that building really close. They can just simply step out there and say, hey, you gotta move within, you know, you gotta move 15 or 20 feet, however you wanna do it.
What if they say no?
And then call me, and I'll come make a move. I don't know.
What if they tell you no? What are you gonna do?
Go sit in their jail.
Or
Court order violation.
court order violation for not complying with an ordinance?
We write them a summons. Yeah. Is there, hold on, no, is there a criminal, do you have any kind of a penalty phase?
It's an ordinance.
So you got
There's no
one.
criminality here.
Then you need to talk to Jill about putting a penalty phase on there.
Same way probably with the city. There's probably no criminal charges that you can hit them with.
I think they do have a criminal penalty on there. I think if they can write them a summons for something. Or disturbance, or I don't know.
Fine.
Yeah, for a fine, but I don't remember, I don't know what they did. But I'd send an email first to all of our staff and just make sure they all know that they can't be smoking around those three doors.
Well, I'd say our staff probably does a pretty good job. I'd say it's all the people that are in and out of the courthouse that are smoking wherever they want.
It wouldn't
put
hurt to
signs up
mention
on
something
those.
that Donna, they don't work for her most of them.
I think the email we got though was referring to the handicapped entrance here.
All right, sounds simple then. Get a email together, just shoot a reminder.
So do you wanna update your ordinance though? To be 10
To-
foot from a door,
10.
or do you? want
Public
it-
doors, you could say
'cause
public doors.
Right now, it's 10 feet from an exterior wall, so that eliminates a lot of the places we're talking about designating smoking.
Well, it says 10 feet from a wall or unless it's designated. So if they designate the
Area.
table as a designated spot, then you're good.
We don't need more to do, so I mean, I wouldn't even voted for that. I would've just said, we're not gonna have one. Just cause I think it's silly and can't enforce it. It's, you know, you can ask people to move, but
Yeah,
anyway.
I didn't think about that, though, there is no penalty phase on this.
So, you only ask people so nice to do stuff, and they may or may not do it, so, especially criminals. They may wanna go sit in your jail, I don't know.
Usually people
But
standing
they
around
might
the
be hungry.
courthouse are very compliant with us whenever we ask them to do something, so. But I think signage.
God. We almost got out of here.
quarterly, he said, quarterly.
There's my 20. There.
You guys wanna review that some other time, or?
If somebody wants to make some changes, then they can propose it and we'll bring it up in the next meeting. So. I was just kinda
So
going through
we
some
want-
emails.
Wanna just send a friendly reminder to all?
I think that we should, and then that way we're doing something to try to mitigate it. That way they, I mean, I don't know if they'll be able to say anything, cause we don't know who it was. If it was an employee or anything, so. I just, a friendly reminder, just asking people to be considerate. If you wanna designate an area as a smoking area, we can, but you don't need to, as long as they're 10 foot away from the doors, the designated area.
10 foot away from public entrances.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we could change that.
Okay, let me get this back on the agenda next week and we'll make some modifications and then maybe send an email out. Can you?
Yeah.
Debbie, can you do that? Send an email to all employees, just a reminder to ensure that they're.
Be courteous.
Be considerate of others, please smoke.
They don't really read my emails, but.
I do.
Can we put something there about chewing too?
I don't care.
You better not. We might lose a director over that one.
If they're spitting on the floor or something out there.
He
then
don't
yeah.
do that. Make it a tobacco-free campus.
Uh,
I didn't
Yeah,
see
we're having
any.
fun. Anything else? Did we recess till 4:30?
Second.
Third.
All in favor? Aye.